Hey everyone, this is Anirudh from Edureka. So this session is intended to be useful for anyone considering to kickstart their learning about Tkinter and need some insight about how Python can be used to create GUI apps. The focus is basically on approaching the concepts in the easiest way possible. So let's begin by checking out the agenda for the session. We'll start with the introduction of Tkinter, and later we'll need to check on how we can install and get started with Tkinter. Followed by that, we'll look at the overview of all of the concepts present in Tkinter, guys. And we'll be checking out code alongside theory throughout the session. I have got some amazing feedback when I use the code first approach while teaching anything, guys. So I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun learning Tkinter. So let's begin by checking out what a graphical user interface actually is. So guys, graphical user interface is nothing but a desktop application which helps you interact with the computers. They are used to perform different tasks in the desktops, laptops, or any other electronic device in general as well. Here, we're mainly talking about the laptops and the desktops, guys. So GUI apps like text editors can be used to create, read, update, and delete different types of files as well. So GUI apps like Sudoku, Chess, Solitaire are the games which you can play, right? And apps like Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, etc. are used to surf the internet as well. So there are some different types of GUI apps that we daily use on the laptops and the desktops, guys. So we're going to learn how to create those types of apps as well. As this is an introduction to GUI, make sure you stay tuned till the end as we will create a really simple and nice GUI app, guys. Well, personally, I prefer GUI over command line. Not that there is something wrong with the command line, but for me, I prefer more intuitive and interactive applications with a lot of visuals. Guys, what do you prefer? Head to the comment section and let me know. And next up, we need to check out the Python libraries that are present for designing our own graphical interface. Well, Python has a lot of libraries and these four stand out mainly. We have Kiwi and we have Python Qt, we have WX Python and we have Tkinter, guys. Yes, it's spelled as Tkinter, right? So it's Tkinter, guys. Well, among all of these, Tkinter is preferred by a lot of learners and developers just because how simple and easy it is. I am sure you guys will have the same opinion in a while as well. And guys, it is at this point that I'd like to mention that you will require a little bit of knowledge about Python to get started working with Tkinter. There is nothing to worry if you don't have any prior programming experience with Python, guys. I have created an in-depth Python tutorial specifically for beginners as the target audience, and I'm getting some really good feedback on it. So I'd recommend that you guys check it out and I'll leave a link in the description box for the same. So moving on, we need to check what Tkinter actually is. So what is Tkinter, guys? Well, Tkinter is an inbuilt Python module which is used to create simple GUI apps. And it is one of the most commonly used module for GUI apps in all of Python, guys. So you don't need to worry about installation of the Tkinter module as it comes with Python by default, guys. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be using Python 3.6, guys. So kindly update if you're using a Python version which is below 3.6. And also guys, I want you to follow this tutorial along with the practice, right? So by doing that, you can understand it very quickly. Well, don't just try to copy the code, guys. Try to write it by modifying it as you like and then observing and understanding the different outputs. So next up, let us start with the fundamentals of Tkinter. Guys, this is how an application actually executes. First, we have to import the Tkinter model and next we create a main window. It is in this window that we are performing operations and displaying visuals and everything basically, right? So followed by that, we add the widgets and lastly we enter the main event loop, guys. If you notice, there are two keywords here that you might not know at this point, right? So one is widget and the other one is an event loop. An event loop is basically telling the code to keep displaying the window until we manually close it. Check out this code for a little bit of better clarity, right? As I mentioned, we're importing the Tkinter package and defining a window. Later, we actually are giving a window title which is shown on the title tab whenever you open an application, right? So for example, Microsoft Word is shown on the title tab when you open a Word application, correct? Similarly here, we call it GUI in our case. And lastly, we have a label, guys. A label is nothing but what output needs to be shown on the window, right? So in this case, as you can already see, it is actually hello world. Well, check out the output on the right side. So at this point, congratulations to all of you guys. You just figured out your first Tkinter code. It is going to stay as easy as this throughout the entire tutorial and you will end up appreciating on how simple it actually is. And next, I will walk you through all the different types of widgets that are supported by Tkinter, guys. It is really easy to follow through, so let's begin. So what are widgets, guys? Widgets are something like elements in the HTML. You will find different types of widgets to the different types of HTML in Tkinter. Well, let's see the brief introduction to all of these widgets in Tkinter, guys. So we have everything from label, button, entry, we have combo box, checkbox, radio, scroll text, spin box, menu bar, and notebook, right? So button. So guys, basically a button widget is used to place the buttons in the Tkinter, right? So it's as straightforward as that. And then we have canvas, and well, canvas is used to draw shapes in your GUI. And we have check button. Well, check button is used to create check buttons in the application, right? So you can select more than one option at a time as well. And then we have entry. Well, entry is used to create input fields in the GUI. And later we have frames. Well, frames are basically used as containers in Tkinter. And we have label, guys. So label is used to create a single line widget like text or images or anything. And later we have menu bars. Well, menu bars are used to create menus in the GUI and so on. Well, these widgets are the reason that Tkinter is so popular in my opinion, guys. So the first widget we'll be checking out is the label widget, guys. I will not overwhelm you with any of the complete syntaxes for each of the widgets. The code snippets I've shown here will make your learning easier, and I've done this just so you can avoid any sort of confusion, guys. As I mentioned earlier, labels are used to basically create text and images and all of that. But do not forget that they have to be in a single line definition, guys. So check out the output. We have entered our text as Edureka, and that is printed as it is. Simple, right? So there is something called as the geometry function, guys. So it is basically used to change the window size and set it as per our requirement. Well, in this case, we have set it to be 350 pixels in width and 200 pixels in height, as you can check out from the left side part of the code. And next up is the button, guys. Well, it is very similar to the label widget, to be honest with you guys. So all we do is we create a variable and we use the widget syntax to define what the button has to say. Also, here we'll be using a function called as the grid function, which is used to set the position of the button on our particular window. So as you can check out from the output, we have Edureka and the button we have is enter, right? So it has been kept in the first column, right? So it is on the top left. So this is because the grid function takes two parameters, which is column and row. Since the column is 1 and the row is 0, the message appears in that particular place. In fact, we can also change the foreground for a button or any other similar widget as well. We'll be using the parameter FG as shown in the code for foreground, and similarly background color can be changed using the BG property, guys. Well, in this case, our foreground is the text, which is actually red color as defined, and the background is orange as we have set it using the BG parameter. So at this point, we have a clickable button, right? Well, what happens when we actually go ahead and click it? So this is what we call a click event. We need to write the functionality as to what should happen when we click the button, or in other terms, when the click event is fired. Well, for that purpose, we actually have a function which is called as clicked, and we're displaying a text message saying that the button was clicked. We will need to add a parameter called as command in the button definition as shown. Pretty easy, right? So next I have for you guys is entry widget. So what is an entry widget used for? Well, simply put, it is used to create input fields in the GUI, guys. So check out this example code, right? So basically here we are creating a text box using the Tkinter entry class. Grid is used to tell the code where we want the widget to be placed on the window. And next, what should happen when the button is clicked? Well, we have a message that says welcome to, and later whatever is input into the text area will be concatenated along with this and then printed, guys. So check out this example for better understanding. So we have typed out Python training and it displays welcome to Python training. So all of these widgets are really simple, and more than that, they always come in handy as well. So next up, we will check out the combo box widget. So can you guys guess what a combo box is? Well, it is just a drop down menu with options, guys. So check out that there are no parameters for the combo box definition apart from the window, right? And in the next line, we have defined certain values such as numbers ranging from 1 to 5. And next we have something called as text as well. Well, 1 to 5 was numeric inputs, right? But we can have a textual input as well. It is defined using double quotes, and we will later set the selected input. And lastly, we have the grid function to place the widget on the window as well. So again, check out the example here, guys. So we have the drop down menu and it displays all that we have defined in the code. Another easy widget, done. Well, next, this is a classy one, guys. This is the check button. Well, it is widely used in almost all of the sites, right? So basically, we use the check button class to create the widget. We start by creating a variable of the type boolean var. But this is not a Python standard variable, correct? Well, nothing to worry, guys. This is actually a Tkinter variable. By default, we keep the set state to be true, which means that the button is checked already. And next, we are passing the chk underscore state to the actual check button class to check the state for us. So check out the example here, guys. So we have a really simple check button widget with a certain text. So guys, what other easy widgets like this are available? Well, next, we'll be looking at the radio button widget. Well, again, guys, the radio button widget is widely used and I'm sure you've seen and used this widget before. We'll be using the radio button class to add the widget. Take a look at the code. Here, we have the value parameters to be different. It's 1, 2, and 3, right? So however, if they are the same, it will lead to a conflict and then there'll be an error, guys. So as you can check out from the output, we have Edureka and the button we have is enter, right? So it is to be noted that a unique value is used to address the radio buttons. So the value should be unique, but the text can be the same, however. Here, we have considered Python, Java, and Scala, right? It can be whatever you want. And again, the grid function is used to place it on the window. So check out the example here to understand how we have used the radio button and used more than one grid function at a time, right? So unlike a check button where you can try selecting multiple cases, here in case of the radio button, you can only select one at a time. And this is important, guys, so I want you to note this at this point. So another nice widget we have is the scroll text widget. Guys, this can be added using the scroll text class again. One thing you must note here, which is very important, is that you need to specify the width and the height of the scroll text widget. Well, if you do not specify the same, the entire window is actually filled up. So you can basically set the scroll text content by using the insert method, guys. The syntax is pretty simple and we need to use txt.insert with the message as a parameter. And that is all, guys. So next we have the message box widget. Again, let me quickly walk you through this, alright? So we are using the message box library here as well, importing the library and displaying the message basically. But we need to define the message title and the message contents here as shown on the left hand side. So guys, this is where things get interesting, alright? So look at the example on the right. Here we have made use of two of the widgets that we learned. We're using a button click to actually show a message box for us. And this is the input, guys. We first have a button which says click here, and when we end up clicking there, the button click event is actually triggered and we have the message box widget. Well, do note that the message title and the message content can be set to whatever you want based on your particular requirement. Well, last but not the least, here is another simple widget called Spinbox. If you notice the output first, you'll see both the up and down scroll tabs, right? Well, this is how it differs from the scroll down widget. Here, the static number will change over a certain range of values. Well, now take a look at the code, guys. We have three parameters, right? We have from, we have to, and we have width. From tells the start and the default value of the range, and to obviously gives us the upper threshold of the range. Well, width is basically to set the size of the widget to 5 character spaces. But since we're only doing 0 to 100, 3 is more than sufficient for us. But I went ahead and put 5 just so it looks well placed, right? So you can put whatever you want here and it's valid, but make sure it is more than what the range can offer, guys. So that was a lot of widgets, right? As I've said, I've tried to make it as easy as possible by showing you only the function prototypes and the basic syntax. And next is a really quick concept on geometric management, guys. Well, all of the widgets in Tkinter will have some geometry measurements, right? Well, these measurements give you to organize the widgets and their parent frames, windows, or anything like that. Well, Tkinter has these three geometry manager classes, guys. So we have pack, grid, and place. Well, pack is used to organize the widgets in a particular block, which actually means that it occupies the entire available width, right? So it is a standard method to show the widgets in the entire window. Next is grid. Well, we have already used grid at this point, so we already know that it organizes the widget in like a table-like structure, right? Into rows and columns. And next we have place, guys. So it's used to place the widgets at a specific position you want. And again, we've already looked at grid in almost all of the previous codes, right? And I'm sure you guys understood all of these concepts. If you have any doubts, head to the comment section and leave a comment so we can interact there. So next up, we need to check out how we can organize layouts and widgets in the simplest way possible. Well, to arrange the layout in the window, we will use frame class, guys. So let's create a simple program to see how the frame works. Well, what is a frame, right? So well, a frame is actually used to create divisions in our window. You can align the frames as you like with the side parameter of the pack method, guys. And button? Well, button is used to create a button in the window. We've already checked this out. It takes in several parameters like the text, FG, BG and all of that, and we already know this, right? Guys, I want you to note that the parameter of any widget method must be where to place the widget, right? So in the code that I'm going to show, we'll be using it in the place of window, top frame and bottom frame, guys. So guys, as you can see, I just opened up my PyCharm and this is the program that we're going to discuss. So we have imported Tkinter and we have given it a title called Edureka, and we'll be defining two frames, right? So top frame and the bottom frame that I told you. And now we'll create some widgets in the top frame and the bottom frame. So guys, first let me just go ahead and execute this so you can check out the output, and then we can compare the output side by side with the code to understand how it works. Well guys, as you can see, this is the output we have. Well, for button 1, we have the foreground color to be red, right? So it is red. And next button 2, we have green. And similarly for another button, but this is for a different frame, right? So this is for the bottom frame. So here we have purple and orange as well. Well, at this point, nothing will happen if we actually click the buttons because we haven't programmed the button to do anything for us, right? So we'll actually check that out in the future slides. So guys, we also need to check out how we can use the fill parameter, right? So let me just quickly go ahead and type in the code for that. So guys, this is the code for the fill parameter of the pack function. Well, let me go ahead and execute this so we can understand this better. Guys, as you can check out from the output, we're taking all the available X width because we have actually used the pack function to fill it up in that particular axis, right? So guys, again, similarly for Y, right? So let me quickly go ahead and resize this window so you can just check it out, right? So even though I'm resizing the window, it takes up the entire width that is available. So next we need to look at grid, guys. Well, grid is just another way to organize the widgets. It uses the matrix row column concept, right? So consider something like a 2x2 matrix or something. So let me quickly open up my code so we can actually get the output that we see on the screen right now. So guys, as you can check out, we're back into PyCharm. Well, this is the program to basically check out grids, guys. So let me walk you through this, right? So in line number 8, we actually have a label and we have put the text to be username. Well, this is actually put in the place of 0, 0, right? So it's on the top left. And then we have an entry widget, which is actually let us to put in any text of our own. And this is placed in row 0 and column 1, which is actually to the right side of the username. Well, next we have password. Again, same, it's a label, right? So this is placed on 1, 0, which is like right below the username. And then we have another entry widget, which is similar, but this time it is row 1 and column 1. So this actually places it in the position of 1, 1. So basically, if you guys can visualize, we're actually placing it in 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1 in the form of a matrix, right? Hence, it's actually called as a grid. And lastly, we have a check button with the text saying keep me logged in, right? So the column span for it is actually 2. So let us quickly go ahead and run this and we can check out the output. So guys, as you can check out, we have the output as shown here, right? So we have username as a label, password as a label, and then we have the entry widget. So I can just put in anything, Anirudh, which is my name, and password. We have not hidden it at this particular point of time, but that can be done as well. So we'll put Edureka or something. And that's about it, guys. So this is the check button. So all it does is yes or no. So it's pretty much binary, right? So either I've checked it or I haven't. So it is as simple as this, guys. So guys, now that this is done, let's quickly go back to our presentation to see what's next. So guys, next up I have for you is binding functions. So it is really simple and it is a small concept that we have already covered. So let's get started. Well guys, calling functions whenever an event actually occurs is actually referred to as a binding function. Well, in the below example, you can actually click the button and it calls a function which is called as say_hi, right? So you can find it on this particular line, guys. Well, the function say_hi actually creates a new label with the text saying hi, right? So it is as simple and straightforward as that. And later we actually have a button which says click me, and as soon as you have clicked, it actually sends the command to this function. And in this function we have the label which says print. So basically we'll have a button, and as soon as you click the button, whatever this function says is done. So it says print hi in a label, so hi will be printed, guys. So let's quickly go ahead and check the code. So guys, I've quickly opened up my PyCharm and this is the particular program we were discussing, right? So let me quickly go ahead and run it. So guys, now that that is actually run, check out the output, right? So we have a button which says click me. So as soon as I click the button, it says hi. Well, hi is being printed because of the label text here, right? So I can change this to anything else. So let's say I say Edureka. So let me quickly go ahead and run this now. So again, as you can check out, we have arrived at the click me button. So as soon as I clicked it, it says Edureka. Pretty much simple, right? So another way to bind the functions is to basically use events, guys. which is exactly what we're going to check now. Well, there are certain events such as mouse move, mouse over, clicking, and scrolling, and all of that, right? So basically, the button 1 parameter of the bind method is to the left clicking event. So that is whenever you click the left mouse button on your mouse. And button 2 is for middle click, and button 3 is for the right click, right? Well, middle click is basically clicking on the wheel. And here we are actually binding the left click event to a particular button, right? So I'm going to be showing you that particular code. But you can actually bind it to any other widget that you want. You will actually have a lot of different parameters for a lot of events, right? So let's check the code together. So guys, we are back into PyCharm. So let me quickly go ahead and execute this. So as you can check out, there is a button which says click me, right? So what happens as soon as I click, it keeps printing hi for me. How is this happening, right? So check out the particular code. Again, we have a function which says say_hi, and we have a label which is going to print hi for us, right? But then we have a button which says click me, which we already discussed. But then check the bind function, right? So we have something called as a bind function, which is binding our particular button 1 to our particular function, right? So as soon as my button 1 is actually clicked, whatever is in the say hi function, which is actually printed. Well, first is actually the event here in the parameters, and second one is actually the function. So I want you guys to note it at this point. So every time I keep clicking, hi is going to be printed, guys. Simple, right? So guys, clicking events are basically 3 different types, right? As I've mentioned, left click, middle click, and the right click. So now we can actually check out how a particular function can be called based on the event that occurs, right? So I'm going to show you a program and I'm going to run it. So as soon as we click the left, middle, and the right button, it actually calls to a specific function instead of one generic function, right? So in this particular case, we have say_hi when we click a left mouse button, right? But in the next case, we're going to have each individual functions for left, middle, and the right click buttons as well. So let's check out the code. So guys, here is the code, right? So again, we have 3 functions here: left click, middle click, and the right click. When we have a left click, we're going to have a label which says left click for us. Similarly for middle click and right click as well. So next, check out the binding here. So instead of 1, we have actually bounded to 3 particular functions. So when we click the left mouse button, it is going to take us to a function which is left_click. Again, button 2, which is the middle click button, is going to take us to the middle click function. Button 3, which is the right click, is going to take us to the right click function. It is as straightforward as that. So let me quickly go ahead and run this. So as you can see, I already clicked it, so it says left click. So let me go ahead and do a middle click. Now the right click, right? So this will actually keep changing in whatever order I particularly do it, guys. Simple, right? So next up, let's see how we can add images and icons into our window. Guys, it's really simple, so follow through with me, right? We're going to be using the photo image method to add our particular image. So let's quickly go ahead and add the Edureka logo, for example. So guys, we're back in PyCharm right now. So let me quickly go ahead and execute this. Well, as you can check out, the output is good enough for us, right? So what are we using here? As I've mentioned, we are actually using the photo image method for us. And there is one parameter for this, which is actually called as file. So check it out here, right? So file is basically the location of the file. And guys, do make sure that the file actually exists, right? So if the file doesn't exist, you'll actually get an error. And again, we're using the label to actually print the image as an icon for us. Pretty simple, right? So let me quickly go back to my presentation and we can see what's next. And guys, now this is the interesting part you all were waiting for all this while, right? So here is an amazing use case that we can build using Tkinter with all of the concepts that we have learned today. So we'll be designing our own simple calculator app using Tkinter and all of the concepts that we have learned. And after this, you can design almost any kind of simple stuff ranging from a calculator or a game of your own like chess or something, right? So you can do all of this using Tkinter, guys. So exciting, right? So let's quickly dive into the code of the calculator and I'll walk you through the same. So guys, I'm back into my PyCharm and this is the code that we're talking about, right? So basically we have set our geometric to be 312 cross 324, the title to be calculate, right? So we're creating the basic window at this point of time. And then we actually have a button_click function which actually updates the input field continuously when you enter numbers, right? So basically we have an expression and then we're going to add it to whatever we get. So expression actually stores the latest value for us and string of item is when we are actually inputting it, right? And lastly, we need to set that expression. So we have text.set of expression to actually save that for us. And next we have button_clear function. Well guys, this is basically used to clear the input field as the name suggests. So the expression is made blank as you can see in line number 20 and it is being set to empty as well. And next up, we have something called as button_equal. Well, this function actually calculates the expression present in our particular input field. So as you can see, we have a result variable, right? So it is particularly string and we're using it to evaluate a particular expression. Well, the eval function evaluates the string expression directly, right? And you can also implement your own function to actually evaluate the expression instead of an eval function. So in this case, we've used the eval, but you can do it on your own as well. And whatever output we get from the result is being set again. So this is the particular frame we'll be creating for the input. So we have the width to be 312, the height to be 50, and all of the highlight backgrounds, right? So like black, highlight color is black again, and all of that, right? And here from the pack function, the side is considered to be top. So next we need to create an input field inside of the frame. Well, we have an entry function, and then the particular font is set as well using the font parameter. So in this particular case, let us consider Arial, font size to be 18, and the characteristics to be bold. And the width is 50, and we have actually set the background color, right? But check out line number 44, guys. We have something called as the iPad E. Well, guys, the iPad E is actually an internal padding which is used to increase the height of our input field. And next we'll be creating another frame for the button which is below our particular input frame, guys. So again, we are creating another frame. We have given it its width, height, and the background color to be gray. And now on, we are actually defining the rows of the calculator, right? So in the first row, we have the button, right? So we have C and we have divide. C is for cancel and divide is for the function. In the second row, we have the numbers 7, 8, and 9. In the third row, we have 4, 5, 6, and minus. In the fourth row, we have 1, 2, 3, plus. And in the fifth row, we have 0, dot, and equal to, right? And lastly, we're running the main event loop so that it lets us close it manually instead of automatically it closing for us, right? So let me quickly go ahead and run this. So guys, as you can check out, I think now you'll get a better picture, right? So the first row was C and slash. The second row was 7, 8, 9 in multiplication. Similarly until 0, dot, and equal to, right? So let's quickly go ahead and do a simple operation, right? So 100 plus 2 is 102. We're using the eval function, so it's doing all of the calculations for us, right? So we can do 80 divided by 10 or something. And again, 8.0, it's a floating number. And C is actually used to clear the input field for us. So this is pretty much simple, right? So you understood all of this particular code and it is not complex as it looks, right? So if I actually try to hide the code and show you only the calculator, you'll think that this is very complex to do, right? But as you guys saw for yourself, this is as easy as this, even for a short app like a calculator, right? So you can do whatever you want with this. And the number of opportunities are endless, guys. So let me quickly go back to my presentation and conclude the session, guys. Well, we checked out everything from the basics of GUI to what is Tkinter, and later we checked out so many widgets and we used them all together in the end as well. Well, concepts such as event handling and adding images and icons were all discussed too. Well, again, at this point, I'd like to repeat that if you need a quick head start with Python for Tkinter or any other purposes such as Django or Flask or something, make sure to check out the link in the description box for my Python tutorial, guys. So this is it for the small session. I hope you took away some real good points from here and that this helped you kickstart your Tkinter learning. Hope to see you guys build your own GUI applications and have fun with Tkinter. So thank you guys, you know what to do. If you have any queries, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel for more information on the latest technologies and all of the courses offered.